Marcus made a decision on January 1st. This was the year. He was going to save money. Real money. Not the kind that disappears by the 10th of every month and leaves him wondering where it went. Real, intentional, growing savings. He downloaded a budgeting app. He watched 3 YouTube videos about the 50-30-20 rule. He opened a separate savings account specifically labeled Do Not Touch. He told his girlfriend about it. He felt good. Genuinely, optimistically good. By February 14th, the savings account had $43 in it. By March, the budgeting app had not been opened in 6 weeks. By April, he had quietly stopped mentioning the goal to anyone. And by the time December rolled around again, Marcus was sitting in almost exactly the same place he had been the year before, earning a decent income, spending most of it, saving almost none of it, and feeling a low-grade, persistent frustration that something was wrong with him, that other people had figured something out that he had not, that saving money was somehow easier for everyone else than it was for him. Here is what nobody ever told Marcus. His problem was not discipline. It was not math. It was not even his income, although that is almost always the first thing people blame. His problem was that he was trying to fix the wrong thing. Because the real reasons people cannot save money have almost nothing to do with the reasons most financial advice focuses on. Cut your lattes, stop eating out, make a spreadsheet, try harder. That advice is not wrong exactly, but it is aimed at the surface, and the surface is not where the problem lives. Today, we are going to go deeper. We are going to walk through the 10 real reasons you cannot save money, the ones hiding underneath the obvious answers. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand your own financial behavior in a way that most people never get the chance to. Let us get into it. Reason 1. You are saving what is left over instead of what comes first. This is the foundational mistake, the one that sits underneath almost everything else on this list. And it is so common that most people do not even recognize it as a mistake. They just think it is how saving works. Here is the mental model most people operate from. Money comes in, bills get paid, life gets lived, and then at the end of the month, whatever is left over gets saved. The problem with that model is brutally simple.
There is never anything left over. Not because people are irresponsible, not because they are spending recklessly, but because human spending naturally expands to fill available income. It is not a character flaw. It is just how we are wired. If there is money in the account will find ways to become empty. Dinners out, convenience purchases, online orders, small upgrades, things that individually feel completely reasonable and collectively consume everything. The people who actually save money have flipped this model completely upside down. They save first, before the rent, before the groceries, before the streaming services. A fixed amount moves out of their checking account on the same day every month, automatically, without requiring a decision, and goes somewhere it cannot be easily touched. And then they live on what remains. The savings is not the leftover. The spending money is the leftover. That one reframe, simple as it sounds, is the single most powerful structural change most people can make to their financial life. Not a new budget, not a new app, not more discipline, just a different order of operations. Reason 2. Your savings has no specific purpose and no specific target. Here is a question that reveals everything. What exactly are you saving for? Not in a vague sense, not for the future, or for emergencies, or just to have something. What specific thing? What specific amount? By what specific date? If you cannot answer that question with a real number and a real timeline, your savings does not have a destination, and money without a destination almost always finds somewhere else to go. This is not a motivation problem. It is a design problem. When Marcus opened his savings account and labeled it Do Not Touch, he gave it a restriction, but not a purpose. He told himself what he could not do with the money, but never clearly defined what he was doing with it. And without a clear target to move toward, every month became a negotiation. Do I really need to transfer this much? Could I put in a little less this month and make it up later? People who save successfully almost
always have named accounts with specific goals attached to them. Not one savings account labeled savings, an emergency fund with a target of $12,000, representing 6 months of their specific monthly expenses, a vacation fund with a target of $3,000 by August, a down payment fund with a target of $30,000 by the end of next year.
When the goal is specific, every transfer feels like progress towards something real. And progress, visible, measurable progress, is one of the most powerful motivators human psychology has ever identified. Name your savings goals. Assign them real numbers. Give them real timelines. Watch how differently you treat the money going toward them. Reason 3. Your environment is engineered to make you spend. This one is uncomfortable because it requires admitting that your spending is not entirely your own decision. But it is true, and understanding it can change everything. The world you move through every single day has been meticulously, expensively, and brilliantly designed to separate you from your money. Not aggressively, not obviously, quietly, seamlessly, in ways you barely notice because you have been living inside the design your entire life. Your phone is covered in apps that make spending frictionless. One tap, saved card details, no waiting, no physical exchange of money. Just a number on a screen that feels entirely abstract until the statement arrives. Your social media feeds are calibrated to show you people living lives slightly better than yours. Slightly nicer homes, slightly newer cars, slightly more interesting vacations. Because that slight gap is precisely what keeps you scrolling. And scrolling, it turns out, is almost perfectly correlated with spending. The stores you walk through are laid out by behavioral psychologists. The products you see most are the ones with the highest margins. The checkout line is a carefully curated collection of last-minute temptations. Even the music playing overhead has been chosen to keep you relaxed and in a buying state of mind. Online shopping platforms have invested billions of dollars making the path from impulse to purchase as short as possible, because they know, they have the data to prove, that every second of additional friction between wanting something and buying it reduces the probability of the purchase. Marcus was not weak. Marcus was human, and he was living inside a system built by some of the smartest people in the world, specifically to make saving difficult. The solution is not to become superhuman. It is to redesign your own environment. Remove saved card details from shopping sites. Delete apps that trigger spending. Unfollow accounts that make your life feel insufficient. Add friction between wanting and buying. A waiting period, a second step, a moment of pause. You cannot out-willpower a billion-dollar system. But you can make your own environment work for you instead of against you. Reason 4. You have not made saving automatic. We touched on this in the context of saving first, but the automation piece deserves its own conversation because it is that important. Every time saving requires a decision, it is vulnerable. On a good month, when you feel disciplined, when your income was solid, when nothing unexpected happened, you make the transfer. You feel proud, you move on. But on a hard month, when something came up, when you are stressed, when the account balance feels tighter than usual, the decision goes the other way. The transfer gets skipped. You tell yourself you will make it up next month. Next month arrives, and the same dynamic plays out. This is not weakness. This is just how human decision-making works under stress. We protect the immediate. We delay the future. Every time. Automation removes the decision entirely. The transfer happens whether you are having a great month or a terrible one, whether you remembered or completely forgot, whether you feel motivated or completely depleted. It happens because you set it up once and it runs on its own. The practical version of this is a direct deposit split, where a fixed dollar amount goes straight to your savings or investment account on payday, before the money ever lands in your checking account where it can be spent. Most employers allow you to split your direct deposit between multiple accounts. If yours does, use it. If not, set up an automatic transfer from checking to savings for the morning after every payday. The amount matters far less than the consistency. $25 a paycheck saved automatically and never touched is worth more than $200 saved occasionally and often rated. Build the system once, then let the system save for you.
Reason 5. Your spending is driven by identity, not intention. This is the one most people are not ready to hear. But it might be the most important reason on this list for a large number of people. A significant portion of what we spend money on is not about the thing we are buying. It is about the story we are telling, to ourselves and to the people around us, about who we are. The car is not just transportation. It is a statement about what kind of person has arrived in the parking lot. The neighborhood is not just a place to sleep. It is a declaration of what tier of success has been reached. The wardrobe, the restaurant, the vacation destination, the school your kids attend, all of it carries a layer of identity signaling that has nothing to do with the functional value of the purchase. And when your spending is driven by the identity you are performing rather than the life you are intentionally building, saving feels like a direct threat. Because saving means having less visible. And having less visible feels, at some unconscious level, like being less. This is why people earning $90,000 a year can feel genuine financial anxiety. Because they have built a visible life that costs $92,000 a year to maintain. And the $2,000 gap between their income and their performed identity is quietly funded by credit, by stress, and by the complete absence of savings. The shift that changes this is not about spending less. It is about getting honest about why you are spending it all. For each significant expense in your life, ask the real question. Am I buying this because it genuinely improves my life in a way that matters to me? Or am I buying this because of what it communicates to other people, or to myself about who I am? That question does not have a comfortable answer, but it is the one that actually changes behavior. Reason 6. You are treating saving as punishment instead of protection. Pay attention to the language most people use when they talk about saving. I should be saving more. I need to cut back. I have to stop spending so much. I cannot afford that right now. I am trying to be good with money. Every one of those phrases frames saving as a restriction, a deprivation, something being taken away. And your brain, the part of your brain that is ancient and deeply motivated by pleasure and safety, responds to deprivation by resisting it. That resistance shows up as procrastination, as the one-time exceptions that become regular habits. As the quiet decision to start next month instead of this one. The people who save consistently have made a fundamental reframe. They do not experience saving as giving something up. They experience it as buying something very specific: security, options, peace of mind, the ability to handle what life throws at them without spiraling. Every dollar that goes into a savings account is not a dollar you lost. It is a dollar that is now working to make sure a car repair does not derail your entire month, that a job loss does not become a crisis, that you can say yes to an opportunity because you have the cushion to take the risk. That is not punishment. That is power. When you start relating to your savings as the thing that is buying you freedom rather than the thing that is limiting your present, the emotional resistance starts to dissolve, and the behavior follows the emotion. Reason 7. Lifestyle inflation is eating every raise you have ever gotten. Think back to the first real paycheck you ever received. The moment when you thought, okay, this is enough, I can work with this. This covers what I need. Now think about what happened every time your income increased after that. The apartment got a little nicer, the car got a little newer, the restaurants got a little better, the vacations got a little further, and somehow every single time, the new income level began to feel exactly as tight as the old one did before the raise arrived. This is lifestyle inflation, and it is one of the quietest and most effective wealth destroyers in the average American's financial life. Here is what it costs in real numbers. Say you get a $4,000 annual raise. That is roughly an extra $250 per month in take-home pay. If lifestyle inflation consumes that entire raise, a nicer gym, a streaming service upgrade, slightly more eating out, you are no further ahead than you were before the raise. Not because you made a bad decision, but because you made no intentional decision at all. Now imagine instead that you had a rule. Every time your income increases, 50% of the increase goes directly to savings or investments. The other 50% you can spend on whatever you want. No guilt, no restriction, just a rule. Over a career of even modest raises, that rule compounds into a genuinely different financial life. Not because of sacrifice, because of intention applied at the exact moment when more money arrived, and the easiest thing in the world was to simply spend it. Lifestyle inflation does not feel like a mistake when it is happening. It feels like enjoying your success. The problem is that it is borrowed enjoyment, paid for by the future version of you who will wish the money had gone somewhere else.
Reason 8. You do not have an emergency fund, so you keep raiding your savings. This one is a cycle that catches more people than almost anything else on this list, and it is one of the most frustrating because it feels like progress keeps getting erased. You save for 2 months. Something breaks. You pull the money out to fix it. You start over. You save for 6 weeks. A medical bill arrives. You pull the money out again. You start over. Again. It feels like you simply cannot catch a break. But the actual problem is structural. You do not have a dedicated emergency fund sitting separately from your savings goals. So every unexpected expense, and there will always be unexpected expenses. That is not bad luck. That is just life. Goes directly into the same pool you are trying to build. The solution is to treat the emergency fund as the first savings goal, before the vacation fund, before the investment account, before anything else. A dedicated, separate, boring account that exists for one purpose only: to absorb the unpredictable costs of being alive without derailing everything else you are building. The target is 3 to 6 months of your actual monthly expenses, not income, expenses. If your life costs $3,000 a month to run, your emergency fund target is $9,000 to $18,000. That number might feel large right now. It does not need to be built overnight, but it needs to be the priority until it exists. Because until it exists, every unexpected expense is a savings reset. And resets are the single biggest reason most people feel like they are running in place financially, no matter how hard they try. Build the floor first. Everything else gets built on top of it. Reason 9. You are comparing your financial life to the wrong people. Here is something that research in behavioral economics has documented clearly and consistently documented. What your neighbors earn and spend has a measurable impact on what you earn and spend, even when you are not consciously aware of it. The car in the driveway next door, the vacation photos your college roommate posts, the kitchen renovation your coworker mentioned, the school your neighbor's kids attend. None of these things require you to consciously think about them for them to quietly influence your own spending decisions. This is called the social comparison effect, and in the era of social media, it has been amplified into something that previous generations simply did not have to deal with at the same scale. When your invisible reference point for a normal life is set by the curated highlight reel version of everyone around you, the gap between your actual life and that benchmark feels like a problem to be solved. And the instinctive solution your brain reaches for is spending, to close the gap, to keep up, to signal that you are doing fine. Marcus was not comparing himself to his parents' generation, where a modest car and a simple home felt like genuine success. He was comparing himself to a composite of everyone he followed online, all of whom were showing their best moments, their nicest things, and none of their credit card statements. The practical solution is deliberate comparison fasting. Audit who you follow. Ask honestly whether each account makes you feel inspired or insufficient. Unfollow without ceremony anything that consistently makes your own life feel like it is not enough. Replace the social reference point with your own defined version of what enough looks like for you. Your financial life should be measured against your own goals, not against the performance of people whose full financial picture you will never actually see. Reason 10. You are waiting until you earn more to start. This is the last reason, and it is possibly the most expensive one on the entire list. The most common version of it sounds like this. Once I get the promotion, I will start saving seriously. Once we pay off the car, we will have more room. Once the kids are older and things settle down, we will really focus on this.
The problem is not the intention. The intention is completely genuine. The problem is that the future moment where it becomes easy never actually arrives. Because the same forces that make saving difficult right now, lifestyle inflation, social pressure, the absence of automated systems, spending driven by identity, those forces do not go away when income increases. They scale with it. The person earning $45,000 who is not saving is, in most cases, simply practicing to be the person earning $80,000 who is not saving. The income was never the obstacle. Starting with whatever you actually have right now, even if it is $20 a paycheck, even if it feels embarrassingly small, even if you are carrying debt at the same time, is not just better than waiting, it is categorically different from waiting. Because starting builds the habit builds the system builds the result, and the result, no matter how small at the beginning, creates the evidence your brain needs to believe that this is something you can actually do. Marcus's problem was never that he earned too little. His problem was that he kept waiting for saving to become easy before he started. And saving never becomes easy before you start. It becomes easier because you started, because the habit is already running, because the system is already in place. The best time to start saving was 10 years ago. The second best time is the next paycheck. Not when things settle down, not after the next raise, not once the situation improves. The next paycheck. So let us land this plane. 10 reasons. None of them are that you are bad with money. None of them are that you do not earn enough. None of them are that you are missing some piece of financial knowledge everyone else somehow has. Saving what is left over instead of what comes first. Having no specific target to save toward. Living inside an environment engineered to make you spend. Not automating the behavior. Spending to perform an identity instead of build a life. Treating saving as punishment instead of protection. Letting lifestyle inflation consume every raise before it can compound. Having no emergency fund, so every setback resets the clock. Comparing your financial life to the wrong reference points. And waiting for a better moment that will never actually arrive. That is the real list. That is what is actually going on. And the reason none of this is what you think is because none of it is about trying harder. It is about building smarter. About designing systems that work with your human nature instead of constantly fighting against it. Marcus did not need more discipline. He needed a different order of operations, a named goal, an automated transfer, and an honest conversation with himself about why he was spending the way he was spending. That is all. That is the whole fix. Pick one reason from this list, the one that hit closest to home, and address that one thing this week. Not all 10, one. Because one habit changed completely is worth more than 10 habits changed barely at all. We will see you in the next one.